righty, Miss Bakar. This is Morey Mendayahu, and you have just tuned in to another live broadcast of Living Branch Hebrew Assembly. And we want to say Shabbat Shalom to all of those that are out there, our Miss Bakar, and Todah for joining in with us. And just so you know, and I'm trying to get all my stuff updated, we will be posting it's already posted. Prayer and Prophecy will be switching to Tuesday at 8. That's Tuesday at 8 p.m. So make sure you tune in, and there are going to be a lot of little things switching around. I know several people checked on me yesterday to make sure I was doing told me everything was okay or etc. So I appreciate those that checked on me, because we didn't have, since there wasn't a lesson, they wanted to make sure I was okay. I really appreciate that. But from now on, just for the schedule, we're going to be Tuesday at 8 will be our Prayer and Prophecy, and we'll still have our lessons on Saturdays or Shabbat, the Gregorian Shabbat, on 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. So, stay tuned. There's a lot of different things going on in the world, and in ministry also, there's a lot of different things. We had a wonderful time the other week down in Atlanta. We immersed over 30 some people. It was truly a barakah, or a blessing, and we appreciate all those down in the Atlanta area and in Georgia and Savannah that came out to support. It was a great event, and we appreciate all of our Miss Bakar down in the Georgia area that came and supported. Wouldn't have been the same without you. So just in week of dreams, a lot of people have been contacting me about dreams they've been having, and just as a witness to let you know, things are winding up pretty quick, Miss Bakar. I even dreamed last night about there was like a military takeover, and I was like, wow. It was very vivid, and I'm just, a lot of people aren't prepared for where the world is going and what's happening in the world and what they're trying to usher in. And as much as we, cry for change, I want to remind you that in Matthew the 24th chapter, these things must be so that the end can come. And, so out here trying to promote certain types of changes in the world, the only true change that's going to happen is when Mashiach comes back and he reigns and rules. And ultimately when the Father reigns and rules, because he's going to give everything back to the Father. So, I don't, me personally, that's why I don't get into the politic thing and all that stuff. I watch what's going on just to keep keep the pulse of what's happening. But as far as who gets what, it's still going to usher in what's going to happen, and what's been prophesied is going to happen. So, the best thing we can do is be ready, because it's definitely coming. It's definitely coming. So, other people have had dreams that contacted me saying about, they saw other countries here militarily in the U.S., and I was sharing with them that, what you could be seeing is part of the UN task force that's going to be coming through to help usher in martial law. So, these things shouldn't be strange to us. And they shouldn't take us by surprise, because prophecy has to be fulfilled. And that's one of the things we want to make sure we're in tune with. That's why I keep emphasizing to us, don't get caught up in politics and the world events and all that stuff. Take note of it so that you can, line it up with prophecy and what's going on in the world. But don't get wrapped in it where you lose sight of what's really going to happen. Remember what Mashiach said in Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. So, just a few preliminaries. If you need to email me, my email address is info@living-branch.org. And we are reaching out globally. Our witnessing website is yahuwah.co. Our main website is living-branch.org. And our auxiliary website is hebrewfoundation.org. So we're thankful for all the people that we see logged on today. And we appreciate you. So our lesson is going to be today, which king are you? And we're going to talk about Yeshayahu, or Josiah. And I was reading, and this particular king stuck out to me because he had a little mixture there going on. And he did some great things, but we're going to see some things at the end. And I just pray that you keep your ears in tune, because all these lessons are to help you grow and become better in your walk with the Mashiach and with the Father. Okay, let's pray. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Father, thank you for another yom that you have made, another day you've made. We ask you, Father, to continue to give us everything that we need: wisdom, counsel, memory, understanding, recall. Help us to have righteous thoughts so that we can do the things that pertain unto the kingdom. Father, we can see by discerning the signs of the times that time is growing near. And we just want to be righteous in your sight and be accounted worthy to escape. Father, thank you. We say Todah for all you're going to do this day in the name of Messiah Yahusha. Hallel to Yahuwah. Amen. All right. So before we go there and read, what I want to do is read some prophecy from 1 Kings, the 13th chapter, the 1st through the 10th verse. Now, this is some of the things I want you to keep in mind as we go through this lesson. This is a lesson of being obedient until the end. So you can't wait, you've got to continue in obedience. Okay? The king had a great heart, did wonderful things, but there was a spirit of disobedience that was the death of him. And we're going to see this when we read and we get towards the end of his life. This is a story of what happens when you ignore what Yahuwah is trying to tell you because of what is in your heart or what you want to do. So this should be a lesson to many of us, because we can do everything righteous, but there are some things that personally get down to the nitty-gritty for us. Personal issues, things that you want to do, things that are in your heart that are moving and persuading you that can cause you to stumble. And it's going to be very clear in this lesson. So the question are you this king? Do you see this king in you? So that's what we want to focus on. So let's go first. We're going to look at 1 1 Kings, the 13th chapter. Okay. And let's just read here. And behold, a man of Elohim came out of Yehudah by the word of Yahuwah to Bethel. Now it says Jeroboam, but Yerab was standing by the altar to make offerings. And the man cried against the altar by the word of Yahuwah, saying, O altar, thus saith Yahuwah, behold, a son shall be born to the house of David, Josiah, Joshiyahu, and he shall sacrifice on you the priest of the high places who make offerings on you, and the human bones shall be burned on you. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, this is the sign that Yahuwah has spoken. Behold, the altar shall be torn down, the ashes that are on it shall be poured out. And when the king heard the saying of the man of Elohim, which he cried against the altar at Bethel, Jeroboam stretched out his hand from the altar, saying, seize him. And his hand, which he stretched out against him, dried up, so that he could not draw it back to himself. The altar also was torn down, and the ashes poured out upon the altar, according to the sign that the man of Elohim had given by the word of Yahuwah. And the king said to the man of Elohim, entreat now the favor of Yahuwah your Elohim, and pray for me. Now notice, he didn't claim him himself. And pray for me that my hand may be restored to me. And the man of Elohim entreated Yahuwah, and the king's hand was restored to him, and became as it was before. And the king said to the man of Elohim, come home with me, and refresh yourself, and I will give you a reward. And the man of Elohim said to the king, if you give me half your house, I will not go with you, and I will not eat bread or drink water in this place. For so was it commanded me by the word of Elohim, saying, neither shall you eat bread nor drink water, nor return by the way that you came. So he went another way, and did not return by the way that he came to Bethel. So here's the prophecy up here, that there's going to be a son born in the house of David, and his name shall be Yoshiyahu, or Josiah. And he would destroy the altars, and he would burn the bones of the priest and the people that worship this mixed worship on these altars, and that will be a sign. Okay, so let's go over to where this happens. Now, if you look back up, Josiah, the king that he replaced was Manasseh. So I don't want to go into Manasseh. I want to focus on Josiah. Okay, it says, but the people of the land slew all them that had conspired against King Amon. And the people of the land made Josiah, his son, king in his stead. Excuse me, it was Amon that he replaced. Okay, now look here. We're in 2 Chronicles, the 34th chapter, first verse. And Josiah was how old? 8 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned in Jerusalem, or Jerusalem, 131 years. And he did that which was right in the sight of Yahuwah, and walked in the ways of David his father, and declined neither to the right hand nor to the left hand, or to the left. So here we have this king. He comes in as a young boy, and he does what's right, even as a young boy, in the sight of Yahuwah, and he walked in the ways of his father's David. See, this was prophesied, because he couldn't do all that he did fulfilling prophecy if he wasn't walking according to the statutes and commandments, because he had to understand about, not having no other Elohim before the Father, and not making idols and all this. So he had to walk in the commandments. So look at what it says here. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, this word Na'er, it means young man in Hebrew, he began to seek. Now, this word seek here, see, he was just, because it says in the 8th year of his reign, he was just 16 years old. So, for those that have children coming up, you have to train your children up so that this way is in them. So he was 16 and he began to seek. Let's look that up. I just want you to be able to see it. Well, let's make it a little smaller there. So it's Daresh, to tread or frequent. So in other words, he was constantly going back and forth to the Father. Remember, the path of righteousness is a path that's well treaded, because you're going back and forth. In other words, whenever something comes up, you don't just, seek your own, but you go into the Father. And once you go to the Father, you come back and you execute what he's shown or what he's given you. So this should be happening. There should be a path from in our life that goes back and forth to the Father. It should be well tread. Now, if this path hasn't been treaded, there's going to be weeds. You might not even see evidence that there's a path. But if you are going back and forth to the Father, you'll be able to distinctly see this path, because it's just like any other trail, whether you go to the woods or wherever. If it's been walked upon, you can clearly see it. If it's been walked upon much, but if it's been walked upon little, you won't be able to see it. So now I have to pause here and ask you, how does your path look? Is it well treaded? Or is your path one you can barely see it? Because you don't go back and forth to the Father when things arise in your life, or when you need to make a decision, or when things that require his input. Some things don't require his input. You don't need his input, when it comes to, say, pagan worship, because not to bow down before or make graven images. This. It's written in the word. But there might be some things, Father, like Daoud or David did. Do I go up and fight the Philistines? Will you give me victory? And you going back and forth on things that you don't know, that you want his hand in. But see what happens. A lot of times we don't want his hand in things because we know what his answer might be. So we just go ahead and execute anyway without going to him. But we'll leave that alone for now. Okay. He began to seek after the Elohim Dawood, or David his father. And in the 20th year, he began to purge. So first he sought, because he had to be right. Excuse me, in the 12th year. So in the 12th, so that means he was what? He began to reign when he was 8 years old. It did say 8. Just want you to see there. It said 8 years old. So in the 12th year, he was 20. And he began to purge Yehuda and Jerusalem from the high places, the groves. Now I want you to look here. See how King James kind of hides things from us? The Phoenician goddess, also an image of the same, grove. So this is what he was, and the carved images, and the molten images, and he break down the altars of Balaam in his presence, and the images that were on high above them. He cut down the groves and the carved images and the molten images, and he brake into pieces and made them dust, and strode it upon the graves of them that had sacrificed unto them. Wasn't that prophetic? The man of Elohim, his name wasn't even mentioned there in Kings, the 13th chapter. But we see the prophecy coming to pass. And notice what else he did. And he burnt the bones of the priests upon their altars and cleansed Judah or Yehuda and Jerusalem or Jerusalem. And so did he in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, Simeon, even unto Naphtali, with their sword around about. And when he had broken down the altars and the groves, and had beaten the graven images into powder, and cut down all the idols throughout all the land of Israel, he returned to Jerusalem or Jerusalem. Now in the 18th year of his reign, when he had purged the land and the house, and he sent Shaphan, the son of Azilyahu, and Manasseh, the governor of the city, and Joach, the son of, and I'm just looking at the Hebrew just so you know, Joachaz, the recorder, to repair the house of Yahuwah his Elohim. And when they came to Hilkiah, it would be Kilkiyahu, the high priest, they delivered the money that was brought into the house of Elohim, which the Levites that kept the doors had gathered of the hands of Manasseh and Ephraim, and all the remnant of Yisrael or Israel, and all of Yehuda and Benjamin, and they returned to Jerusalem or Jerusalem. And they put it in the hands of the workmen that had the oversight of the house of Yahuwah. And they gave it to the workmen that wrought in the house of Yahuwah to repair and amend the house. Even to the engravers and the builders gave they it, to buy huge stones, cedar for coupling, and to the floor of the house which the kings of Yehuda had destroyed. So now he's repairing the house of Elohim. And the men did work faithfully, and the overseer of them were Yohat and Obed-Yah, or Obed-Yahu, the Levite, and the son of Merari, and Zechariah, Meshullam, and the sons of Kohati, or that would actually be the plural, Kohatim, to set it forward, and other Levites, all that could skill of instruments and music. Also, they were over the bearers of burdens, and were overseers of all that wrought the work in any manner of service. And of the Levites, there were scribes and officers and porters. Okay? So, let's keep rolling. And they brought out the money that was bought into the house of Yahuwah. Hilkiyahu, the priest, found the book of the law given by Moshe. And Hilkiyahu answered and said to Shaphat the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Bait of Yahuwah. And Hilkiyahu delivered the book to Shaphan. And Shaphan carried the book to the king, and brought the king word back again, saying, all that was committed to thy servant, they do it. And they have gathered together the money that was found in the house of Yahuwah, and delivered it into the hands of the overseer, into the hands of the workmen. Then Shaphan the scribe told the king, saying, Hilkiyahu the priest has given me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass. Now, I want you to understand that the king, Yoshiyahu, did all the stuff he did because he knew that they weren't supposed to worship idols in these groves and all these foreign gods or foreign mighty ones. But they didn't have the book of the law, because right here it tells you that they found it. So let's notice what happens when how they act. Okay, and this kind of, is like some of us, in our walk. We knew some things were right, and we did those correctly. But when we found Torah, this really put it in a whole different perspective for us. Okay, and it says, and it came to pass when the king heard the words of Torah. I want you to see there that does say Torah. See, Torah. That he rent his clothes, and the king commanded Hilkiyahu and Ahikim, the son of Shaphan, and Abdon, the son of Milki, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asaiah, the servant of the kings, saying, go inquire of Yahuwah for me, and for them that are left in Yasrael or Israel, and in Yehuda or Judah, concerning the word of the book that is found. For great is the wrath of Yahuwah that is poured out upon us, because our fathers have not kept the word of Yahuwah to do all that is written in this book. So you can't do part of it. You got to do all of it. And for those of you that are asking questions about the lesson changes, I'll address that at the end. And Hilkiyahu and they that the king had appointed went to Huldah, the prophetess, the wife of Shillum, the son of, Tikva, the son of Hishra, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in the college, and they spake to her to this effect. And she answered them, and thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of Yashrael, tell you the man that sent you to me. Thus saith Yahuwah, behold, I will bring an evil upon this place, and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the curses that are written in the book, which they have read before the king of Yehudah, because they have forsaken me, and have burnt incense unto other mighty ones, that they might provoke me to anger with all the works of their hand. Therefore my wrath shall be poured out upon this place, and shall not be quenched. And as for the king of Yahuwah, who sent you to inquire of Yahuwah, so shall ye say unto him, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of Yashrael, concerning the words which thou hast heard, because thy heart was tender, and thou dost humble thyself before Elohim, when you heardest the words against this place and against the inhabitants thereof, and humblest thyself before me, and dost rend thy clothes and sweep and wept before me. I have heard thee also, saith Yahuwah. Behold, I will gather thee to your fathers, and thou shalt be gathered to thy grave in peace. Neither shall thy eyes see all the evil that I will bring upon this place, and upon the inhabitants of the same. So they brought the king, or the Malach, word again. So the king, because of his righteousness, will avoid seeing what's the destruction that's going to happen. Doesn't mean the destruction wasn't coming. But the destruction wasn't coming, but because of his righteousness, he wasn't going to see it. He was going to be gathered together to his fathers in peace. Okay? Then the king sent and gathered together all the elders of Yehudah or Judah and Jerusalem. And the king went out into the house of Yahuwah, and all the men of Yehudah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, or Jerusalem, and the priests and the Levites, and all the people great and small. And he read in their ear all the words of the book of the covenant that was found in the house of Yahuwah. And the king stood in his place and made a covenant before Yahuwah to walk after Yahuwah, to keep his commandments, his testimonies, his statutes, with all his heart and with all his soul, and to perform the words of the covenant which are written in this book. And he calls all that were present in Jerusalem, or Jerusalem and Benjamin, to stand to it. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem did according to the covenant of Elohim, and Elohim of their fathers. And Yoshayahu took away all the abominations out of the countries that pertain to the children of Israel, and made all that were present in Yashrael or Israel to serve, even to serve Yahuwah the Elohim. And all his days they departed not from following Yahuwah, and the Elohim of their fathers. So this king, he did some really good things. He had a tender heart. He was humble. Sounds good. He followed, he took down all the groves. Really sounds like a lot of us. We got good hearts, we're humble. We try to follow, what the Father tells us to do. So let's keep reading. Moreover, Yoshiyahu kept a Passover unto Yahuwah in Jerusalem. And they killed the Passover on the 14th day of the first month. See, they hadn't been doing this. Because when the kings were wicked, they departed from all that Torah tells us about feast days and Shabbats. He set the priests in their charge and encouraged them to serve to the service of the house of Yahuwah. And said unto the Levites that taught all Israel, which were set apart, or Kadesh, unto Yahuwah, put the set apart ark in the house which Shlomo or Solomon, the son of David, or David, or Dawood, or Dawid, king of Israel, did build. It shall not be a burden upon your shoulders. Serve now Yahuwah your Elohim and his people, Yashrael of Israel. And prepare yourselves by the house of your fathers after your courses, according to the writings of David, or David, or Dawood, king of Israel, and according to the writings of Shlomo his son. And stand in the set apart place according to the divisions of your family, of the fathers of your brethren, the people, and after the divisions of the families of the Levites, or Levites. So kill the Passover and sanctify yourselves and prepare your brethren, that you may do according to the word of Yahuwah by the hand of Moshe. And Yoshia gave to the people of the flock lambs and kids and all the Passover offerings for all that were present, and to the number of 30,000 and 3,000 bullocks. These were of the king's substance. So he didn't just do it, tell the people. He first gave of his substance. And his princes gave willingly unto the people, and to the priests, and to the Levites, and Hilkiyahu, and Zechariah, and here we have, let's see which one I'm going to use. Yahi Al, the ruler of the house of Elohim, gave unto the priests for the Passover offering 2,600 small cattle and 300 oxen. And Konan Yahu also, and Shema Yahu, and Natan his brethren, and Hashib Yahu, Yael, and Yozabad, chief of the Levites, gave unto the Levites for Passover offerings 5,000 small cattle and 500 oxen. So the service was prepared, and the priests stood in their place, and the Levites in their courses, according to the king's commandments. They killed the Passover, and the priests sprinkled the blood from their hands, and the Levites stripped them, flayed them. That word is pasat. Oh, excuse me, pashat. And they removed the burnt offerings that they might give according to divisions of the families of the people, to offer unto Yahuwah, as it is written in the book of Moshe. And so did they with the oxen. And they roasted the Passover with fire according to the ordinance. But the other set apart offerings sowed they in pots, and in kidrons, and in pans, and divided them speedily among all the people. And afterward they made ready for themselves and for the priests, because the priests of the sons of Aaron were busied in offering the burnt offerings and the fat until night. Therefore the Levites prepared for themselves and for the priests of the sons of Aaron, and the singers of the sons of Asaph were in their place according to the commandment of David. And Asaph and Haman and Yadutun, the king's seer, and the porter waited at every gate. They might not depart from their service, and for their brethren the Levites prepared for them. So all the service of Yahuwah was prepared the same day, to keep the Passover, to offer burnt offerings upon the altar of Yahuwah, according to the commandment of King Yoshisyahu. And the children of Israel that were present kept the Passover at that time, and the feast of unleavened bread 7 days. And there was no Passover like to that kept in Israel from the days of, listen to this, Samuel the prophet. Neither did all the kings of Israel keep such a Passover as Yoshiyahu kept. And the priests and the Levites and all the Yehuda and Yashrael that were present, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And in the 18th year of the reign of Yoshiyahu was this Passover kept. Now, this is the part I want you to pay attention to. I think this is going to help some of us. It sure helped me. Now, it says, after this, when Yoshiyahu had prepared the temple, Necho, king of Egypt, came up to fight against the Carchemish by Euphrates. And Yoshiyahu went out against him, but he sent ambassadors to him, saying, what have I to do with thee, thy king of Yehuda? I come not against thee this day, but against the house wherewith I have war. For Elohim, listen to this now, for Elohim commanded me to make haste, forbear thee from meddling with Elohim, who is with me, that he destroy thee not. Now, this king comes up out of Egypt saying, Elohim has told me to go up against the Carmelish, by Euphrates. So the Father uses other nations to accomplish his goal too. And sometimes he uses people we would not think that he would use. So we've got to be very careful what's in our heart and how we are hearing and how we're listening, because if we don't, we're going to miss it and get ourselves in trouble. So he says, for Elohim commanded me to make haste, forbear thee from meddling with Elohim, who is with me, that he destroy thee not. Now notice this. Nevertheless, Yoshiyahu would not turn his face from him, but disguised himself that he might fight with him, and hearken not unto the words of Necho from the mouth of Elohim, and came to fight in the valley of Megiddo. Now, I gotta ask you this. Really gotta ask you this. Because if you're not on the same frequency as the voice of Yahuwah Elohim, you'll miss it. Has he spoken through other people? You can't go by outer appearance. You can't go by nation. You gotta be able to tune in to Yahuwah Elohim's voice and know his voice when he's speaking. So Yahuwah was using Necho to go up against another nation. But Yoshiyahu was so set on what he wanted to do that he could not hear the voice of Yahuwah his Elohim. So he disguised himself just so he could go up to battle against Necho. Anybody out there wearing a disguise because you want to do what you want to do? Because you don't want to hear his voice? Take off your Halloween costume. It's time to walk in righteousness. This is not about what you want. This is about hearing his voice. This Yoshiyahu did all these wonderful things. It was prophesied that he was going to come and do all this good stuff. Take down all the groves and all the images and Astaroth. And now he has in his heart that he wants to fight against this king. He was probably looking at that this man's from Egypt, our enemy. But see, what you got to remember, if your ways are pleasing to him, then he will make your enemy your footstool. So this enemy supposedly is actually doing the Father's bidding. In effect, helping him. He even told him, I don't have nothing against you. I didn't come up to battle against you. Yahuwah sent me up against someone else. Why are you meddling in the Father's business? So we've got to learn sometimes to mind our own business. Because if we don't, there are gonna be serious consequences that we're going to experience. You know, people that are busybodies, I run across them all the time. They're in everybody's business. They're examining everybody's stuff. Right now, Miss Bakar, what you need to do is strengthen yourself. Get your ears on the. See, many times we want the Father to get on our frequency. We need to get on his frequency. We need to be in tune to his voice, what he's saying, where he's telling us to go, what he's telling us to do. And don't disguise yourself. Be who you are. And if you're paying attention, some of the people that you're associating with really are doing you more harm than good. But that's another lesson for another day. So I want to read this again. Nevertheless, Yoshiyahu would not turn his face, but disguised himself, that he might fight with him, and hearken not unto the words of Necho from the mouth of Yahuwah, and came to fight in the valley of Megiddo. And the archers shot at King Yoshiyahu. And the king said to his servant, have me away, for I am sore wounded. And his servant therefore took him out of the chariot and put him in the second chariot that he had. I think that's significant, because he didn't follow the instructions. He couldn't be in the first place. Now he moves to a second place in the second chariot. And they brought him to Jerusalem, and he died. Not hearing the Father's voice can get you killed, especially in the day and time we're living in. As time is winding up, we really need to hear the Father's voice. And we really need to hear his voice, who he's working through. Because he might be working through somebody that you don't even expect or understand. He might be working through somebody that might save your life, doing all the chaotic stuff that's going to take place. And if you can't hear his voice, you very well could miss it. And he was buried in one of the sepulchres of his fathers, and all of Yehuda and Jerusalem mourned for Josiah. Now notice here, and Jeremiah or Yirmiyahu lamented for Josiah. Joshiyahu. And all the singing men and singing women spake of Yoshiyahu in their lamentations to this day, and made them an ordinance in Yashriel, and behold, they are written in the Lamentations. And now the rest of the acts of Yoshiyahu and his goodness, according to that which was written in the law of Yahuwah, and his deeds, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Jerusalem, in the kings of Yashriel and Yehuda. So I hope we read so much good stuff that he did. But then when we got to the end, something was in him where he just did not want to hearken. He had his own agenda working there, where he was determined to do what he wanted to do and would not listen. And it was the death of him. He was determined to go out against Necho, the king of Egypt, when he had already told him he had nothing for him, and that Yahuwah had told him to go fight. And why are you meddling in Yahuwah's business? We've really, really, really got to hear the Father's voice. Sometimes we meddle in stuff, the Father's business, when we should just be being still and minding our business. But that's how people work sometimes. They got their hand in everything but what they need to have it in. So we need to work diligently about hearing his voice and understanding what the Father is telling us in this hour, because if we don't, he made a way of escape, but we very well might miss it. So if you have any questions, make sure you email me at info@living-branch.org. Because even though this lesson we did a lot of reading, and the point that we had to get to, everything else demonstrated that what we need to do is make sure our heart is in tune all the way through our lives. But as I said, there are certain subjects we can get on. There are certain things that are close and dear to you, that are personal for you, that will cause you to stumble if you're not careful. You got to be willing to follow what the Father's voice is telling you and listen and be in tune. So I hope this lesson has been a help for us. It was a help for me. Even this morning, there were some things that I identified. I was like, okay, I gotta get rid of that. So, it was gone. No ifs, ands, or buts. If it's not in line with him, or if it's anything that might detract from him, it's got to go. Sorry, that's just how it is. The hour's getting too close to be falling and stumbling. So make sure if you have questions, email me. You can email me at living-branch.org, or you can go to our website, living-branch.org, and join and check me out there. I try to answer all emails and post that are made towards me, because I know in this day and hour, not a lot of us, some of us are not at assemblies, and we need wise counsel. And the only wisdom I know is Yahuwah, and that's the wisdom I seek. So make sure if you need something, get in touch with me. Don't think, hey, I got this. Sometimes it's good to get wise counsel. I even get counsel myself, because I don't know it all. And I want to make sure that I'm hearing correctly and going in the right direction. So I have other mores that I bounce things off, mores that I know are righteous and that are in the Word. Okay, so let's pray a prayer of obedience to the end, because that's what we need. That is what we need. Father, I pray for all of my mispakah out there. Father, I have nothing but a hop for them. I love them. And because I love them, I'm willing to tell them and teach them the lessons that you give me. Because sometimes lessons might not feel comfortable, but it helps us to deal with the reality of what we're faced with. And I want them to be able to grow and make it in, and to prosper, and to be able to hear your voice and do the things that pertain to you. Father, I say Todah for all that out there that are trying and that are doing your will. I pray that you give them strength. I pray that you put an obedient spirit in them, obedience to the end, that they will not get weary in the middle of the race, or not run and get weary right at the end where the finish line is right there in sight. Help us all. to be what you're calling us to be. Toda Rabbah, Father, for your strength. Toda Rabbah, for your power. Toda Rabbah, for having dominion in our lives. And Father, we just say Toda Rabbah. Thank you very much, Father. Humbly we thank you. In the name of Mashiach Yahusha. Hallel to Yahuwah. Amen. Okay, now, just my recommendations, for those that are starting out, the Sefer Bible is a good Bible, or a Sefer. It's a good Bible to have. It gives you the book of Enoch, Jubilee, Yasher, and it uses the Creator's name and the Mashiach's name. So if you do, want to get one, you can get a 10% off just by using the coupon, just by using Living Branch. Of course, if you have children, this is a good, the Hebrew 10 Commandments is a great illustrated bedtime story to instill the commandments in your children, give them the visual. Children are very visual. You go over with them and sow the seed in their life at an early stage. Okay, if you haven't joined the Bookmarker Witnessing Team, do so. We sent out this week close to 1,000 bookmarkers. We're always sending out bookmarkers. It's a great witnessing tool. Just make sure if you order them, don't let them sit around the house. They're meant to give out. You can even take them to the library and put a stack in there. Take them to Barnes & Noble, put a stack in there. Take them to bookstores, hand them out to people. They're all sort of creative ideas. Just the main thing, don't let them sit in your house and don't have 100 of them in your Bible or your scripture. Now, if you'd like to help us in our endeavors, you can send your donation by mail. You can use PayPal, or you can use our online giving tool. The online giving tool brings you here. You can register. It'll keep track and send you emails of what you give. And if you need any, have any problems with it, just let me know. You can use credit card, debit card, savings, checking account. But more than your online giving or giving, keep us in your prayers. That's my main desire. Now, as far as the switching around of services, the service that we normally have on Yom Shishi, which is Friday night, will be moving to Tuesday at 8 p.m. And what's transpiring, I encourage each and every one of you, if you haven't, I don't believe in double teaching. When I say double teaching, one of Moreh Lamayahu's already teaching the calendar. So, I just encourage people. We'll be on part 4 today. And what the calendar, teaching on the calendar is going to show you, is going to bring some things to light. And I believe in teaching people first so that they have an understanding, then executing. So what we're going to find is through the teachings that he's going through, that everything as far as the calendar functions around the sun, the moon, and the stars. Now, the sun is holds a primary position, and we have to see this. Our Shabbats are based on the sun. Our feast days are going to be based on the sun, and this is going to change a whole perspective on what days things fall on. So, as you gain understanding, because I recommend that you understand something and can explain it, then you can execute it. Because a lot of people do things, but they don't know why they're doing them. And so that's where the error comes in. They just do it because everybody else is doing it. So what you'll find when we get towards the end of the lesson, that what's going to happen, there's a Gregorian Shabbat That's the calendar that we're on right now. And then there is a biblical Shabbat, which falls on a total different day. And through watching these lessons, you could gain this knowledge. And like I told one brother, when we get through the lessons, now it's time to seek the Father and, say, Father, I need your help because I really want to honor your Shabbat, and I need you to show me how to do this. Because what we'll do for a little while, we'll still maintain the Gregorian Shabbat, because a lot of people initially, because it's a change and it is, not something they can just jump into. So, we're trying to work with people and help people along, because it's not an easy thing. So this year, the biblical Shabbat is Sunset Tuesday to Sunset Wednesday. But what I encourage you to do is to keep watching Moreh Lamont Yahu's lessons on. Comes on. He'll be on today at 4:00. That's when the lesson starts. And the other lessons you can find on. I post them on Living-Branch, or you can go to his YouTube channel, so that you can see and understand how the biblical calendar works. And then once we finish all the lessons, then we'll start to switch some things around. I'll probably still hold lessons on the Saturday, but once things have finalized and the teachings have finished, I'll be switching those lessons probably to Tuesday night. But we'll see how it works out. So Todah Rabad for all of the wonderful comments out there on the chat, or in the chat box. Hopefully that explained in what's going on with the lessons. So don't look for anything on Tuesdays. On Friday nights. That'll be on Tuesday nights at 8:00, and I'll have it posted on the website. I'm in the process of updating all of those. So if you need anything, like I said, shoot me an email. I know there's going to be a lot of questions as we continue to move forward. In our endeavor, we're not trying to start something new. Our endeavor is just simply to walk things out and to be obedient. And more than you might think have transitioned and seen this. So you'll be, as you tune into the lessons, you'll be able to see what's going on and what's happening. So I just encourage you to continue to study, continue to look at what the Father's doing, and keep me in prayer. I'll keep you in prayer. And, if you have questions, like I said, email me at info@living-branch.org. So hopefully that answers your questions. And I appreciate each and every one of you. So somebody asked and said that today would be the third day. I had to sit down and look at it. But yes, because you would have from Wednesday night to Thursday, that's day 1. Thursday night to Friday night, day 2. Friday night to Saturday night, that's day 3. So you are correct. So let's continue to study and put forth and watch those lessons, and we will we just looking forward to the Father doing many things. All righty, Miss Paka, I appreciate each and every one of you. Much love to each and every one. So keep encouraged, and if you need anything, make sure you email me. So let's see. If you, I'm looking forward to fellowship, and just in the way of announcements, I believe the next place we'll be going to immerse will be in Dallas, Fort Worth, in the big state of Texas. That would be, I'm believing the announcement will come out. It'll be at the end of August, but we'll be putting those on the websites and everything. All right, Miss Picard, this is Maureen, my dad, Yahoo. I love you, and make sure you make this a great day. Honor the Father in this day, and we just say, we know it's a Gregorian Shabbat, but I'm gonna just say Shabbat Shalom to all of you, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.